Right, Nikki, thanks for doing this with us.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Thanks for bringing us to your house.
No worries.
Well, we've tried to organise this for about 6 months probably. So when we did put this stuff together, it was like, I think you were just fresh off World Championship.
Yeah.
And all that. You have a bit more time than planned originally. So like, how do you feel now about that? Reflecting on the whole experience and officially being able to call yourself a world champion.
Yeah. I suppose the whole thing is probably a little bit surreal. But there's kind of two things that as the time has passed, there's two things that I've definitely been able to kind of put my finger on and say, well, that's definitely how I feel. One of them is definitely pride, which I struggled to feel at the time because I was stuck in this idea of, sure, anyone could do that. That's sure, all I'm doing is training. But I think after reflecting and after actually looking back and realising, well, hold on a minute, it wasn't just training, it was consistent, it was the dedication, it was, so like there's a lot of pride in myself and in the calisthenics community because it wasn't just me who did that, and we all showed up there as well. And the second thing is like an overwhelming sense of gratitude for all of the people along the way who either encouraged me or believed in me when I doubted myself. So yeah, which is the calisthenics community, which was my coach, which was you guys, which was the other athletes.
Big Keith as well, like Big Keith, a good shout out, like.
Big Keith. yeah. Listen, lads, he had to put up with the self-doubt,
No wonder he has all them psychology books over in the corner.
Well, he stuck with me now. Yeah. No, definitely. So like pride and gratitude for everyone who kind of helped me get to that position. Yeah. Yeah,
because I think like, especially in sport, when anyone does well, they tend to try and come up with other factors as to like nothing inherent in themselves and their own hard work, or like others from the outside might look at it and say that they're lucky or genetics or whatever, and then we might say I've only won because XYZ didn't do something. But it's great that you're saying like, now I'm acknowledging my own hard work, because we always try and use that example to people when they look at other athletes and say XYZ about them. We're like, no, they're training 6 days a week, they're doing XYZ. So it's great that you're saying you're able to like acknowledge that yourself. Yeah,
which is quite interesting, because if we'd had the interview back when we originally had it, I wouldn't have been able to say that. I absolutely wouldn't have been, because I was just thinking, no, sure, it's only because I was veteran. It's only because there was less people I was up against less people because I'm in a smaller category, or I'm, just exactly what you said, finding reasons to pick apart why it's not a valid win, or it's not something that you should be recognizing for how big it is. So yeah, it took a long time for me to feel that. I think, for it to kind of sink in, because just did.
Yeah, it's easy for us to drift into them thoughts, isn't it? Like, but I suppose having the right people around you is the most important as well. When you were, I remember before we had the workshop down there, you were suffering with a knee injury and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you had surgery since after you've had surgery.
I had different surgery. Yeah. It wasn't on my knee, but
no, yeah. How have you managed with that?
So, do you know what? This is going to sound a bit mental, but I actually...
Most of your conversations are.
I know. They are. The amount of times that you would meet me in the gym there on a random Tuesday morning, that it'd be an hour and a half before I'd be late for work. You'd have no training session done.
Like, oh, you better go.
But I found coming straight off the world, like straight off the back of the Worlds, I had about 5 days, and then I was into surgery. So I knew that it wasn't a surprise. It was planned. Yeah, I'd postponed that surgery because I was meant to have it in January. I postponed it and pushed it out so that I could compete and so that I could train. So I always knew it was coming. And I actually found it, I didn't mind, because I was coming off the back of the Worlds, and it meant all the pressure was gone instantly. I didn't need to train. I didn't need to keep pushing. And it gave me a new goal. So the new goal was recovery. So I was going from having the goal of the Worlds to the new goal of recovery. So I didn't suffer with, poor me and oh, I'm not as strong as I was, or I'm not, you know, I had a valid reason, a concrete reason. Your body can't do what it used to be able to do. And I was quite grateful that I had the surgery, the recovery from surgery as a new goal, because it forced a mental reset, and it forced a mental reset with a valid reason, rather than oh, you've just come off a high and now you're going to have an anticlimax for the next few months. Yeah. So I didn't mind it. And I also had so much time to reflect, because I was forced to sit on the couch, not being able to busy myself with training, not being able to busy myself with all the usual, tools or coping mechanisms or whatever, all the usual things I do. So it's probably things like that forced me to do the reflection that we were talking about earlier, that reflection that actually makes you think, oh, well, hold on a minute. You weren't just training. Your whole mindset changed. Your whole routine changed. You were holding down a full-time job at the same time. Like, there was a lot of things that I had to sit with to make me accept that I earned that trophy.
Yeah.
So
timing was right for you.
The timing was right. Yeah, I think so. So I didn't struggle. I didn't. I mean, physically, I was still sore and trying to recover from surgery, but but
that was a part of the process. You knew that was.
It just turned into like, this is the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't know if this is something that's going to come up later, but specifically calisthenics, in terms of like other sports, I have really found it really, really good for mental resilience and mental resilience and patience.
Yeah, you definitely get that.
Patience.
You gotta have it.
So I think having the year and a half before that surgery focused in that particular sport made it easier for me to go from that high to recovering from surgery, because you've already banked a lot of the tools that you're going to use in situations like that mentally.
So, like, in what way did it help you develop resilience?
Yeah, so before I got into calisthenics, you guys probably know I was just in the gym. I was just lifting weights, and I found with like working out and training that way that there's only two ways to kind of really go. And I'm not are we allowed to curse on this?
Do what you want.
Okay. So I have to check myself there.
Just be stripping half the time.
So I have a lot of friends who I've a lot of friends who do bodybuilding and do all that kind of stuff, but it's I find that when you're just lifting weights, that it's kind of focused on the way you look. And there's only two ways you can go. You can get bigger and bigger and stronger, or you can get smaller and leaner. And there's only so much there's only so much you can do until you reach a plateau, and then you have to stop. And then you're kind of, you feel like, oh, that's it now, I have to start again. Whereas calisthenics was one of the first things that I came across in my time, because I played team sports as well, but I was never really any good at them. So I loved that it was individual, but I loved that it was a continuous game. It was a continuous game. Like you're constantly teeny tiny 1% better, which forces ego in the back pocket. Accept your tiny little bit of progress, if you even get it, because you might not. You might get it next week, you might get it next month, you might get it in 6 months' time. And it kind of weeds out looking for quick wins, and it weeds out ego lifting, and it weeds out anything that can kind of lead you down a wrong path. And it's a lot about, especially if you're learning skills, for instance, you are going to be humbled daily, and you need to be able to come back into your life afterwards, after trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing. I feel like it builds up your resilience, it builds up your self-belief, it forces you to face fear. And for me, that was around things like the muscle up, constantly thinking, I can't get over the bar, and there was a mental block, because my muscles were strong enough. I was doing weighted pull-ups to 25 kilos for reps, but mentally there was a fear or a self-doubt or something that was there. So it was through calisthenics that I found a lot of kind of ways to break through certain mental kind of ceilings that I had made for myself. Yeah,
because there will be a lot of people that start calisthenics and have like all the, like you say, the tricks or the skills and think like, oh, I want to learn that, but they want it immediately because they're comparing it maybe to CrossFit, where you go in and do a workout and then there's an immediate sense of achievement.
Cut that. Don't put that word in.
Yeah, that's the only swear word that gets later. But like, if you go in, I'm slating it, so it's alright. But if you go into one of them and it's like immediate sense of achievement or gratification, whereas ours is delayed.
Yeah.
But what you're describing, it's a much higher sense of achievement and gratification when you do achieve something in our sport.
Yeah, it is. And I also think that for me, I think it's closely linked to the fact that it is an individual sport as well, because it does take away, like if you're part of a football team and I mean, I played basketball, I played rugby, and it was great and I loved it, and I have nothing against team sports. I love them and I'm sure I'll play them again. But it's even easier to hide in the crowd and say, if the team won, it's even easier to say, oh, well, I maybe I wasn't that responsible for the win. Whereas when it's an individual thing, it's all on you. But I feel like it also gives you permission to try new things and push limits, because you know that you're going to fail when you go outside your comfort zone. But when you do it on an individual basis, I find it's easier for me to push outside my comfort zone when it's just on me, because I'm not going to let anyone else down if I fail. So when it's just me in an individual sport like calisthenics, I think, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'll try a muscle up and I won't get over the bar. So what? I'll pick up the broken pieces of Nikki's ego and get on with my life and try again tomorrow. So there's definitely a mental resilience there, that there are so many things that people would look at me or chat to me or look at my Instagram and message me and say, oh, you're doing bar muscle ups, you know, that's amazing. I wish I could have that, or I wish I could do that. But it's the year of daily failure.
Most people don't really see it.
That gets me that. Yeah. So it's, and I love it. Because it's not the trophies and the medals and the titles. That's not what I chase through calisthenics. I actually just chase it forcing you to like face yourself and learn so much about yourself. So what are you afraid of? Where are your limits? Like, how much do you actually want to improve yourself? Like, I've learned so much about myself. And the first one was actually training for one of Aidan's competitions, which was the Irish Nationals in 2024, I think it was. And it was the first time that I'd gone all in for a competition. I think I had 7 weeks. 7 weeks. And I wasn't in a great place at the beginning of the 7 weeks. I think I had 5 or 6.
That was the first time we actually met. It was down in Cork that year, wasn't
Probably,
it?
yeah.
It was.
Yeah. And when I signed up for the competition, I was like 5 or 6 kilos heavier in body weight. So I was like locked in, and the blinkers went on. And I was like, wow, this is the first time where every cell in my body feels like it's aligned. It's like my thoughts, my actions, my feelings, my everything is aligned to one thing. And it felt great. Because you start looking under rocks in yourself that you haven't looked under before. Like, why am I pushing for the extra couple of reps? Is it because I think I can't do it? Or is it because I'm lazy? Or is it because I'm scared I might fail? Or like there's questions that I never would have asked myself that I asked myself in those 7 weeks, yeah. And I came out a different person at the end, because of the sport and because of pushing myself, because there was a focus, which at that time was a competition.
Yeah. I think it ends up like those transferable skills, and just like sport gives you those transferable skills, because you've learned something that like you can replicate in other areas of your life then as well. Which is class. When you first saw the sport, like what was your perception of it? Like, how did you come across it, and then what were you like when the first time you saw it? Yeah,
so first time I saw the sport was actually Aaron let me know that I was doing the sport before I knew it was a sport. So the first time I knew what calisthenics was when I googled I'm bored in the gym, I'm bored of lifting weights, what else can I do? And front levers came up, and back levers came up, and handstands. You need to
update our SEO then, if that's what people are looking for. Like.
Yeah. But it was, and because I went to Google Images, because I'd seen a human flag, which I still have to get. I still haven't. I've never got one. But it was the human flag first, and then I saw front levers and back levers, and I was thinking, what is that? Because I had to Google. I was like, is is that gymnastics? Is that...
Cut that word.
Like, but I was trying to...
Better than... You know what else?
But I was trying to figure out, because all I wanted was to challenge my body to be able to learn a new skill. So I thought, I'll try and learn the handstand, and I'll try and learn a bar muscle up. I identified the two of them. I still didn't know what calisthenics was for another couple of months. I found myself signing up to adults gymnastics, but it just wasn't giving me what I wanted. So eventually found out what calisthenics was. Eric down in Cork, I think. This is actually the story. I was already doing weighted pull-ups and weighted dips. Didn't even know that was a thing in calisthenics. And I had put videos on Instagram, and an Instagram page somewhere in the world wrote to me and said, hey, you're doing calisthenics and it looks like you're really good at it. Do you want to join our group? And at the time I was like, do you want to join our group of athletes? And I was like, no, self-doubt straight away. You're not an athlete. Nope. And Eric, eventually I said, yeah. And turns out Eric was in there. He's from Cork. We were the only two Irish people in the group, and he reached out to me, and he was the one who told me, this is what calisthenics is. Here's how you can get into it. Here, they told me about bar monkeys. Eric told me about bar monkeys, told me here's some people on Instagram to follow.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, seriously. I thanked him like every step of the way. I've thanked him. I've like messaged Eric to say thanks. Like even when I was like Irish national champion in the lead up to the Worlds, even after the Worlds, like I wouldn't be in the sport if I hadn't seen somebody else do it before me, encourage me, show me what was possible, and help signpost and point me in the right direction. So it was Eric. He put me in touch with you guys. I came down to some bar monkeys classes and fell in love with it. Yeah, because it's about what your body can do. It's not about looking a certain way. It's not about being a certain weight. It's not about being faster. It's not about reading the game like in soccer or in basketball. It's literally hold the mirror up to yourself, set a goal, and figure out, do you want it enough to get it, and what are you gonna? Are you willing to show up for yourself every week to get it? It's like proving to yourself that you're worth it and that you're going to show up for yourself. So that's what I've taken from it. Yeah, which has been great. And I think a lot of other women see that in my journey, and I think it helps, and not just women
Certainly
either.
Does.
Yeah.
Honestly, you've kind of led nicely into the next question I had there, innit? So like most sports, like there's a higher percentage of male than female that participate in sport in general. Mm-hmm. Calisthenics is the same.
Yeah.
Like what you've said there, like do you think there's anything, like you said, people are looking at your journey and that, like is there anything you can see that could be done to improve that in our sport, I suppose? Like have more females participate basically.
Yeah. Well, you said my conversations are always like this big. So when you asked me that question, the first thing that came into my head was society's perception of women. That's literally the first thing that came into my head. And I was like, the thought that came to me was women should be small and quiet and pretty and out of the way and not cause waves. Don't take up space. Do what you're told.
That's why Keith married you, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, yeah. Do you know, like it's very scripted still, whereas I feel, and it's not to say that this is exactly how society is right now, because it's not, but women seem to have different limitations placed on them. So there's a lot more judgment put on a female if she is not physically small. So if you see a female who's got lats and shoulders and triceps, and like there's a judgment. There's a judgment from certain friends and family members and like just in general. And I think that stops a lot of women from progressing in sports because they don't want that judgment. And there's only especially in calisthenics, there's only if you are training to the level that's required for you to be progressing and getting better at weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, muscle-ups, things that do require significant strength, there will be physical changes in the way that you look. And if that is judged, then it could stop. It could stop you going down that path because you don't want the resistance. You don't want the judgment. So I think, and that's just one piece of it. But I think it is a big one because a lot of women would say, oh, I don't want to get bulky and I don't want to get, I don't want to look manly. So I think that there's a fear in a lot of females' minds that training and working out can cause that, but it's not true.
Yeah, do you think that like comes back to again, like is it just like self-doubt or no belief, or like not setting them goals and just going with them regardless? Like,
I think it's a fear of not wanting to be different, a fear of maybe, oh, nobody else is doing that, so I shouldn't do it. Or yeah, it's like a fear of if you've identified something that you enjoy and something that you like, you shouldn't let the opinions of others limit how often you do it or how good you get at it. Because there were so many times, honestly, in my journey over the last year and a half where I had friends and family members who were worried, saying, stop training. What are you doing?
I don't understand it.
You look different. You're like stop. You're a bit. Is it a bit much? Like, is it a bit much? And the amount of times that made me question, and I just think, no, I'm allowed to take up space. And I think the more people who make that into a reality, it's a permission slip for others to do the same. I've like other women did it for me, because when I was training and I was in the gyms, it was just men that I saw. And like I said, I got bored of lifting weights. I was like, how big can you get? How lean can you get? It was the men I had to look to because there wasn't a female role model there. So I turned to the internet, I turned to Instagram, I found loads of female role models online. I still keep in touch with them today. They're in the States, they're all over the world. And after the World Championships and in the lead up to it, I started to feel like, whoa, I think I might be turning into one of those women for the other women that are coming behind me. And I think that was something that propelled me forward in the lead up to the World Championships, because that was more important to me than any medal, trophy, title. Yeah. That was like a reason to do it.
Like you were terrified that I was going to turn this into an Irish history podcast, but like everything you said there, I've stuff here around like the founder of camogie, right? So yeah. And you're already signed, right? So like she founded it in 1904. Máire Ní Chinnéide is her name. But everything you've described is like what she would have described. So she was like hiding her hurley on the weight games, like anyone that played hurley at the time, camogie. And the only reason camogie was accepted was if women wore dresses. The dresses couldn't go a certain degree above the ankle, like below the ankles. It had to be only like 6 or 7 inches high. Loads of stuff was taken out in comparison to hurling. So hurling was rough, male dominated. Camogie was feminine. And a lot of rules were changed to accommodate and be more ladylike, in brackets there. But now it's 100 years later, whatever, and you can see the impacts. Like there's thousands of girls playing camogie in Ireland now, and they have changed the rules, all that kind of stuff. Like that's where I was trying to get to, is like, do you see yourself and the other females that have started coming through in Ireland having the same impact, but just in our sport?
Yeah.
They're paving the way.
I do, yeah. And I think it was one of the workshops that you did with Team Ireland down in Gorey in the lead up to the Three Nations that kind of gave us the space to kind of let that thought grow, I think, because I definitely do think that, because when I started in calisthenics, it was a man, Eric, who told me about it, and there were no female role models apart from Rebecca, who was down in Cork, and I think there was a Daisy somewhere, I'm not sure where she's based, but they were the only two women that I was aware of. Daisy at the time had kind of stepped back from the scene as far as I was aware, and Rebecca, I just got straight onto her and started chatting to her, so I was like, what's this thing about? How do we get into it? And we're great friends now. We still keep in touch, you know, every couple of weeks. But yes is the answer to the question. Were there more female role models? It probably would be something that other women would get into. So when I joined, I was looking for them, and there weren't any. So I think maybe I didn't do it on purpose, but I just kept going on my journey, and I kept pushing and kept seeing how much better I could get. And then after a couple of months, maybe when we were having the chat at Gorey that time in the lead up to the Three Nations, where the penny kind of dropped, and I think I said it, that the likes of Grania and Sorka down in Sligo are now role models for probably every female who does calisthenics in and around Sligo, because they've competed, they've had medals around their neck, they've represented, which I think is more important than having the medal around your neck. They've represented not only themselves but Sligo and then Ireland. And I think it's about visibility, isn't it? And it's just like showing what's actually possible, because there's not many women out there doing it. So, and I think what's also really nice is that knowing that like women can be feminine, and women can be, you know, all of the other facets that we're expected to be, or that we can be, but it doesn't mean that you need to not be fierce. It doesn't mean that you need to not be strong. It doesn't mean that you have to like shy away from the more masculine side of things. So you can be it all. It sounds so cliched, but you can be it all, and you can like grow different parts of yourself without needing to compromise others. I don't know if that answers your question, sorry.
No, it does, yeah.
Does it, yeah?
Yeah, it does, I suppose. Like, I was going to say something there, it kind of gone in my head, but like, it's what you were saying there. It's like people like yourselves starting in the early days to show others. Like, what I was going to ask you was, like, if you were back doing it a couple of years ago and only getting into it, and you were going to give advice to some of the girls that were trying to get into calisthenics, or you're trying to encourage the numbers of women, like, what would you say to them or give them advice?
See, I see it as such an individual thing. So I would be saying to look at the different disciplines and try them all, see which one you get the most kind of kick from, and just lock in and go for it and give it enough time. See, because I found it was individual for me, because I wasn't training in a team situation. Sorry guys, this answer's gone shit now. I can't.
It's no shit answer, it's just an answer. Yeah, we're all good.
I think it's been the best answers in all the podcasts so far.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think about giving advice to anyone. Okay, well maybe.
So if you had you were starting and there was a you to look up to, how do you think that would have impacted your training then?
Or maybe so the advice that.
So you said you had no role models except for men and stuff. But if you were starting now and there was Nikki with a world championship around there, like, and all that kind of stuff, and she's Irish, how do you think that would impact you then?
Yeah, I think it would make me see what's possible. I think it would be a permission slip for less self-doubt. I think it would be proof that a woman can do that. And you've also said if it was me, if it was a Nikki. So to be quite specific, I would think that's proof that a woman who's over 35, who's technically a veteran, who also wasn't in the sport 2 years ago, can still reach those heights. And I think I know it probably sounds a little bit cliched, but it's maybe a little bit like, it's not too late to start. Like, it's never too late to start something new, because it doesn't matter how long you've been doing something. What matters is how dedicated you are to it and how consistent you are now, right? Because I started, you know, I probably went from starting calisthenics to being a world champion in about a year and a half, which is crazy. Yeah. No wonder I had so much self-doubt. No wonder I had imposter syndrome.
It's a lot to take on in a short time, like.
Yeah, but I think hearing myself say that out loud and hearing it packaged up like that, I'm like, if I had seen that as a woman outside of calisthenics, if I had seen that was possible, then I would immediately kind of question, wow, I wonder, could I do something like that? Yeah. And I think that's probably how I felt when I found the other women online who were in America and Australia, and I was watching them and I was learning about their stories, and I was thinking, yeah, okay, well, if they can do it, why can't I? So it's again, it goes back to the visibility and self-belief that comes from that.
Yeah, like the visibility is just a perfect word for it, because of a quote here that like men walked on the moon before women were allowed to play football in Croke Park. Yeah. And I just like when you so imagine them.
Is that the headline for the podcast?
Could be. That's the title we go with. But like, if you imagine for women at that time, like the thoughts of them getting to participate in sport when something like that's happening already, and then they're not even allowed to play in our national stadium. So like, you giving visibility to other young women now, you know, say in our club, some of the girls that have gone and done the freestyle competitions, like some of our level 2 groups, which is like the step below competing in nationals, we've more girls than men at this stage, or boys at this stage. And like, I think that's not the only reason, but like down to the fact that some of our girls have gone and done international world championships, nationals, and they have someone to look up to, like, and I think it's made such, like, that's only going to keep filtering down, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's people like Aoife as well. Like, it's any female who's bold enough to like just make waves and be loud and take up space, because they are the females who are being seen, you know. So like Aoife is probably the reason for that. Honestly, there's so many females doing freestyle. It's because they're seeing it online, or they're seeing it like, because there isn't another way for them to see it unless they're in the room. So that's why the online presence is as important.
Yeah, like, I'm not trying to use us as an example, but say like for some of our girls that came through, there was like, they were there maybe 10 years, and like one girl was the only one in the room full of lads. And I could imagine over time that as you get older and you become a teenager, that becomes a really awkward space to be in.
Yeah.
Because you're starting to notice different things, blah, blah, blah. But now, like, some of those girls that have come through with us, now they have female coaches. There's always a female coach in the room. And then they've got female athletes to look up to. And yeah, just like, if you compare that for us even 10 years ago, it was just me and Aaron.
Yeah.
And girls telling us that they couldn't try and drag because they were in their period.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there, all right. But not knowing what to do, like.
Yeah, but that's, so the message that, sorry, first of all, that's fantastic that like there are more females, that they have female coaches, and that they can visually see a path forward for the action that they're doing on that random Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, it's not in a completely male dominated environment. But the other thing is the message that sends to the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 15-year-old is, you belong here. You're not an anomaly. There are others like you. You're not the odd one out. And it normalizes them continuing the sport. And I think that's probably the barrier and the challenge that a lot of women face in sport, is that it's not normalized. They can't see a path of an army of other women who've gone before them, because it isn't there sometimes.
Yeah, the numbers are so small, like.
Yeah.
But it is changing, like
yeah,
James
it's
said there,
definitely changing. Yeah.
When he started.
Yeah, it's exciting that it's changing.
I'm gonna throw another woman at you here. I'm just trying to highlight like trailblazers basically in female space in sport, and particularly in Ireland. And you're one of them in our sport. But like, I've got a woman here, Maeve Coyle, right? So known as the Irish suffragette of athletes. That's where everyone will switch off. But she was Ireland's first female Olympic field and track athlete, 1956. So Ireland's first female Olympic athlete, 1956. She had to cover her own costs to compete, and probably most people did, but she raised 200 quid herself. But she was in an interview for RTE years later, and she discussed like remembering being called in the Irish Times as a hussy for leaving her husband and small child behind while she went to the Olympics. So like that stereotype of the women stay at home and the men go off and do whatever they want, really. And she, like she's like, I was called. If you watch the interview, it's hilarious. Like she's going on an absolute mad one, like on RTE. But like, you know, imagine a woman getting called that now for going to the Olympics. She was like, so the stereotypes and the stuff that they had to overcome with barriers and stuff. Do you think there's any barriers still in place now in terms of you participating in sport for women? Like perceptions like that and stuff like that still remain?
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that we've kind of, I've kind of said already around, you should look a certain way, and don't get too big, and shouldn't have too much muscle. That's not ladylike. In order to get better at a sport, you also need to be fueling sufficiently, and there are still quite a lot of judgment around, you know, God, are you really going to eat all that? Like it's and sometimes it's not even said, but it's in a look, or it's in a group of, I remember, you know, being younger in, you know, groups of women or whatever, and you go out for food and it's like people ordering salads and you're like, God, if I lived on salad now, I wouldn't, I don't remember the last time I had a salad. Like I eat more than most men I know now, and I'm really grateful that I feel fine about that, and I love it, because I know it allows me to push boundaries that otherwise would be limitations for me as a woman, because I succumbed to the, you know, worrying about what other people thought in my training, in my diet, and in my goals. And I think that it's great that I've been able to ignore those judgments and go past them and push past them. But it's not to say that every other female in the country is going to be able to do that, because those judgments are still there. So there is still some challenges there that maybe are harder for women to push past than men. So yeah, there's definitely still, and also like as a woman past a certain age, there's always why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? Why don't, like, that always comes up too. Yeah. So there's just a different set of expectations sometimes on women, and it's not to say that every woman feels that, but it's there. But I definitely think it's changing. Which is, I think, is quite liberating and exciting. And I think I've put myself quite comfortably in the wave of women who are helping it change, because yeah, everyone should just be allowed to do what's right for them, and not fit in a stereotype, not feel the need to conform, because we're not here to
be like everyone else.
We're not here to be like everyone else, and we're not here to be small and survive until the end, and then just like look at our headstone and be like, okay, great, I did it. Like you're here
everyone
to
else did the same thing.
Exactly. Like you're here to find out why you're here, and you can only do it by pushing boundaries. So it's up to you to figure out what the boundaries are. And if you've got all this noise of other people's opinions, then you're not really playing the game, are you? You're just following someone else's blueprint, really. So
just while we're still on it, and like, let's try to keep this about calisthenics, considering that you are, like, based on what Jamie said there, considering that you are a female and like a female power and endurance, female power and endurance athlete, how did you find coming into doing them? Did you feel like they were more masculine or unfeminine kind of categories?
So with the endurance, I found, for me, I've never thought about it like this way, and I've never talked about it this way, but I guess maybe power is the more masculine and endurance is the more feminine, and that's just how I would have seen it. So most athletes that I know, I can't even say that without being like athletes, because I still feel so new in the sport, because I can't even, when you said to me earlier like, oh, that you're one of the role models, and I was like, oh, because I can't. Anyways, maybe it'll go away someday soon. So going into the power.
You should have brought a top in, just had Nikki, national hero, on the top or something.
That's why I left the trophy sitting there, so I couldn't like put it away. So I have to see it. So the power was definitely more like so in my training, most athletes I know would pick one and they would specialize in one and get really good at one. I purposely kept the two because I wasn't training to win. I was training because I loved the training. So I wanted to keep both, and I didn't want to sacrifice one or the other, because to me, if I went only into power, I would lose fitness. I would lose the kick that I got from pushing myself mentally, because to me, endurance pushes me mentally.
Yes, definitely.
Mentally, it's very, very different to power. Whereas the power is short, fast, and once the tank is empty, the tank is empty. Whereas for me, with endurance,
Fitz knows all about that.
in the power, but for me with endurance, it's like playing a different game. It's like once your muscles are tired, you've got at least 30% up here.
Yeah.
With endurance, and you can play games with yourself throughout it, because it's like, are you tired? No. Like it's like you get such a kick from endurance, because your sense of what you're capable of and what you're able to do can stretch far past just your physical performance, because you can start tapping into your mental resilience and just craziness. You're just like, I've had times in the gym where I would this is scary, in power and endurance training, where I would be halfway through a set, like getting to the end where it's really, really hard. Like you've seen me on the last pull, right? The last weighted pull up, or the last, and the thought will go through my mind, even when I'm training in that gym down the ends of the road. Are you dead yet? Did you die? No. Like yeah. Honestly, and it's probably a bit unhinged, but it worked.
That's why that trophy's over there, isn't it?
So yeah, I love training both, and I found the balance of both. I enjoyed the balance of both, because it allowed me to jump weekly, to jump between the two, and I never got bored of training.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that I've answered the question this way, because I can't even remember what the question was.
Sorry. Good answer.
Good question.
What else do you think, from terms of the calisthenics community, can be done to increase like participation for women? I'm not asking you to go out on the road and start pitchforking and campaigning or anything, but like, you know, in terms of it being a welcome community for women.
But personally, I think it already is.
Right.
So I think it already is, and not just for women, but also for like, it's one of the most open-minded communities that I've come across in a long time. There's zero judgment in any calisthenics community that I've found myself in. And maybe I'm lucky because I'm in Ireland and I'm in the Irish calisthenics community, but anytime I walk into a class, there's complete acceptance for everyone's differences. And it's extremely open and extremely welcoming. There's never any sense of, there's never an ego in the room. I think it's always just kind of, that's what I think is for me. It was, I felt welcomed going into calisthenics because I didn't sense any egos, and I feel like the skills training weeds out any egos. So if you had an ego, you wouldn't stick it at calisthenics, because you wouldn't get the instant gratification. Yeah. So you would just get sick of it, throw the towel in, and go back to a heavy bench press and be done. So I feel like it's already, you know, welcoming, and it's just a case of continuing what we're doing. But I don't know if there's any, I don't have any criticisms for the calisthenics community.
Me and Luke are all right then. We've passed Luke. We're all right.
Yeah. When he goes out and goes harder.
I think the ego thing though, like, because Sam was the opposite. So I'm just giving another example of like learning skills and stuff. Like, it does in a good way. There's nothing wrong with like having them skills to want to show off, and like display like a sense of confidence or express yourself in that way either. Like, I was saying, it leaves your ego at the door, but when you learn those skills, there's nothing wrong with wanting to show them off either.
Yeah, I think you have to showcase. Like, there's no point in doing all the work for months or years to gain this skill and then be like, oh no, I'm not going to show anyone this because I think it's going to look like I'm a dickhead or something. Like, you have to show it off. Like, you're not working all that time for nothing. Like, but it does, I think personally, and I've always thought this, that calisthenics does bring a specific kind of people. And if it doesn't, it changes you, because you can't get to the levels or do the skills without being very humbled. And that's why I think the community probably is the way it is, and the people are who they are when you meet them. Like,
there's a certain number of gates you have to pass through, and like being humbled every time you step in the gym is the first gate. So if you can't pass that, you're simply not in the community, not because the community has excluded you, but because you're choosing not to be a part of it.
You won't let go.
But once you learn something, and that, like, you know, other people in our community, like, there is a massive outpour of like people being happy for you, because whether they have the movement before you, whatever, so they'll know how difficult or how long it took them, and it's like a resonation where like, they've got their first class, because you know as well how long that took for you.
We've all taken the road or whatever, I suppose. Like, some people get it quicker, some people get other things like slower, depends, but we all put the same work in, like, to get there, like, so you can appreciate it the same. I
think whenever I'm at the group competition, like the Three Nations or any of these competitions, there's always a lot of emotion in the air. And I don't mean people crying and people being upset, but I think, do you remember?
It's always crying. What you mean?
No, but do you remember earlier in the conversation I said when I was training for my first big competition, the Irish Nationals down at Aiden's competition down in Cork, the Irish Nationals, and I said I've learned so much about myself, you know, facing the fears and the self-doubt and the, you know, like building the resilience and all these type of things. I feel like everyone in calisthenics has to jump through those same hoops, like you said, or they wouldn't get to the same level. So that's why when you're at a competition, you see somebody push past a limit that they previously had, you almost feel the emotion that they're feeling, because you've been them, you've been there. And then on the flip side of that, if you haven't, and you're seeing somebody, like for me, when I look at you guys doing the statics and doing the freestyle, it's inspiring, because it's the flip side of that. I haven't reached that yet. I haven't reached that yet, but I'm looking at you guys and I'm thinking, wow, what must they have gone through to get there? So it's not just, it sounds so cheesy for me to say it's not just a sport. But it's not. To me, it's not just a sport. It's actually so much more mentally stimulating than any other sport that I've been involved in before, because of what you learn about yourself along the way. And there comes a certain point when you choose, let's say, right, Nikki, am I going to learn planche? I've learned about myself. I have learned that's too big for me right now. I'm going to just shy away from that one, and I'll go for the lower hanging fruit first. So like there's a hell of a lot that you learn about yourself, and that's why I love it.
Yes, I don't know, that was pretty much everything. Like there, that was like this is the stuff I love to cover, like just how humbling it is, and the community and why people are, and I've just found that since I started years ago, it's kind of always been the same. Like
I've talked to you too much about women in Ireland, Nikki, so
yeah, thanks.
Go into the next one, right? So,
men in Ireland, no.
Men are bastards. So to sum up, men are bastards.
Nikki, go and make a sandwich.
So last little bit is just kind of like, I suppose, like compare and say the Three Nations and that. Luke likes talking about this one, but how would you compare that to say, because we've done a few, majority of the sport, as we said, you're individual, and you said you liked that about the sport, but then the Three Nations brought about a different component, because we were a collective, which was first event that had that. Like, how would you compare the two, and in terms of your own preparation, how did it influence you and stuff like that?
So my own preparation remained the same, because I was still training individually, but the difference was a couple of the meetups that we had with Team Ireland, which to me was the first time that I'd ever been now I played team sports when I was younger, but this was different. This was, you are representing your country, which I've clearly never done before, and most people in the room had never done before. And it was like, it wasn't pressure. It wasn't pressure to say you're representing your country now, you better do well. But it was like having an army of people behind you to say, we're with you and we're rooting for you. And it made you feel part of something that was bigger than yourself. And to me, that made my training, it improved my training. It like motivated me to do better, not only for myself, but for the team. And then when I was going into performances, I'll be really honest, when I was going into when I needed to compete, for my own head, I needed to snap back into, it's just you. All you have to do is your best. It's just you, because it's not a team sport, because it is just me, but it calmed me. So I definitely harnessed the team spirit, I suppose, in the lead up to the Three Nations. And while we were there, we all left with no voices. Everyone was screaming for everyone else. So I was barely able to, like, by day 2, I was thinking, God, why am I so tired? It wasn't because of the exercise I had done. It was because of the 6 hours of screaming for everyone else. So, and even that was a learning that I took forward to the Worlds, because I was like, okay, we're going to have to manage that a little bit better. But the team element was fantastic for making you feel part of something bigger, and for bringing people together, and for also making you appreciate the strengths in some of the other disciplines, because you see them struggle. And, you know, if it wasn't a team environment, maybe you wouldn't have necessarily made the time to watch and support some of the other disciplines, because you'd be so focused on yourself, and you'd be thinking, oh, I don't want to be tired, so I won't get up early, I won't come in and watch the statics at 9 or 10 because I'm not on until 2. So you'd prioritize you and yourself. So it was definitely like more of a collaborative feeling, and everyone kind of rooting for each other, more social, you know.
Yeah, I
Luke,
think
this is the longest you've gone without saying Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
He's got the flag on. So do I.
No, I think that workshop about the Irish team down in Gorey really helped whoever was there really pull together and understand. And even for people that weren't in the room that day, the energy that we brought, whoever was at that workshop, it just, everyone else kind of just naturally took on, and
it snowballed.
Yeah.
After
100%.
that workshop, Instagram was lit. Not because we were being fake and pushing out, oh, let's make plans for Instagram. Absolutely not. All of us left with a bigger fire in our belly. Yeah. And all of us carried that fire until, I don't know, the Worlds for me, but that's because I was hit by a bus afterwards when I had surgery. Yeah, but like it did make a bigger fire in our belly, and it was you could see it afterwards. You could
even the atmosphere in the room, like, came home with no voices, like cheering for even the other teams, like the Scottish and the English. We were still cheering for them. Like, it was just, they even mentioned it, the atmosphere we created made that competition, like. Yeah.
Sure, the organisers of the Worlds were on to you guys saying, are you bringing a big Team Ireland over because you always bring the atmosphere? Yeah. So it's definitely an Irish thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Looks like it. Yeah. It's like, I think even by the time you got to the Worlds, like, in comparison, yes, we went as a group at the Worlds, but like, and we were all delighted for you, say, but you got crowned as a world champion, whereas the Three Nations, it was Ireland. Yeah. So there was much more collective ramifications. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, so you're seeing some of the lads getting excited for stuff that they wouldn't have been excited for before, because they know, you know, say me watching endurance or power, suddenly I know how they perform. It's going to impact my end result, because it was a group that won. It was Ireland that won. It wasn't Nikki's won or Luke's won. Yeah. And I'd be delighted for yous to win, but obviously winning something as a collective rather than individual. I think I just liked that aspect of it in terms of the event and that. Like, which did you? It's probably a weird question, but like,
ask it. Which did you prefer?
Don't you worry, yeah. Which one? Like, you know, they both. You had success in both. Which one do you think? Well, they probably meant a lot to you in both, but.
What are you asking me? Which one did I prefer? Which should I prefer? Yeah.
I think that's what I'm asking you. Yeah.
Never actually asked the question there. You just said,
I know, he just
reading your nails, like.
Probably two whole different experiences.
Dancing around the question. Yeah. There were two very, very different experiences. So
Two good experiences to have, though.
I'm going to answer the question and say I prefer the Worlds.
Yeah.
And that's because...
Fucking bitch.
but that's because I also got to meet a lot of athletes who were outside of that smaller bubble, UK or England, Scotland and Ireland. So it was on a bigger scale and like, yeah. But I definitely think that it's because I went into the Worlds off the back of the learnings that I had from the Three Nations. Yeah. So like my first international competition was the Three Nations. So I'd never competed internationally before. So I was going in completely green, not knowing. I was going in with no bar muscle up. Shall we remember? No bar muscle up. And, you know, self-doubt being high. And it was after the Three Nations. The Three Nations gave me my bar muscle up. And it was going in with Team Ireland into the Three Nations that gave me the bar muscle up, but also gave me, this is how you burn yourself out if you're not careful with managing your own energy. And there was a lot of learnings. Yeah. So going into the World Championships, I could bring those learnings with me. So it was, it was definitely still overwhelming. Sure, they had us doing weighted dips at 8:30 in the evening and then coming in exhausted trying to do bar muscle ups at 9 a.m. the next day. So like both were amazing events and I learned a lot from both of them, but the difference between going to the Worlds was I already had some learnings from the Three Nations, so I was able to,
because that's what I felt like. I was obviously like running some of the like sports psychology sessions with different people and that, but it was like they hadn't experienced what I was talking about. So until you actually experience it, it's not, you like you said earlier about reflecting and that. Some of the stuff I felt I was talking about to some people in the group, it was just words on a presentation. Yeah. But then after the Three Nations, you've actually gone through some of that stuff and then you can reflect and be like you said, okay, energy management, like burnout, how do I avoid that? How do I stay in a positive energy state? So like you learned that from that one, and then it was like, and that's what the Three Nations was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a stepping stone towards the Worlds for a lot of people. So it's just nice, like from the outside, to hear that you were taking those learnings with you, like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, you could see that from when we were at Three Nations to the Worlds, the way certain people that were even at the workshop were doing what worked for them, stepping back, taking their space, or whatever sort of encouragement they needed before going up and stuff. Where others, it was obviously just the first time to experience it, so they weren't as well prepared, I suppose. That's the way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think everyone as a group, like, was understanding of that as well. Like, I think you came up to me at one point and were like, Jamie, you don't need to stay around for power at 10:30, you're competing in the morning, go home. You know, and I think everyone as a group just understood, like, even though it was individual, I think we did support each other in the, you know, and that's just because as a community, I think we've had those events where we've met up, we've realised, like, and that came from the first time we went over. It was very much like Aidan went with Ninja Fit, we went with Bar Monkey, and Edgar's was on his own. And it just felt like there's different people here representing Ireland, but we're not actually here as Team Ireland. Yeah. And we wanted to get rid of that and create a space where everyone feels like they're there together, and not just representing their clubs, but, you know, we're all there together. So.
Well, I think that's a really important step in elevating the sport.
Because you're better as a community and together than trying to do it on your own, like, in anything.
Yeah. Even, like, not just the sense that the individual people get when they're in the room that, oh, I'm part of something bigger, but also outwardly the picture it shows is that we are united as we are Team Ireland. We're not just a group of clubs stuck together. So it elevates the sport for those inside the room and those outside looking in on it.
Exactly. And then, like, you came in, say, like, so we would have run those things before, so you'd come in third year that we've represented at the Worlds, so that's become the norm, having those Team Ireland kind of things. But the first time around, you know, that's what we were saying, like, the more it becomes a norm, people that do step into our space as Team Ireland, they just realise, oh, because we've all set that norm, that we're a group, we work together, there's no individuals within it, as much as possible, because it's not always going to work that way. But yeah, people can acknowledge that. Nikki, do you have any other questions for Nikki there?
No, I think that's been
Because
great.
Aaron's going to chew through his thumb now. See him eating his hand the whole time.
Didn't bring any snacks on today. No
He
munch
doesn't
in
have
the
any
background.
pancake with him. Like Aaron usually eating a pack of pancakes in the background, Nikki. That's why.
He's probably starving.
Look at him. So you are starving. Yeah, that energy ball. It's not our fault. You should eat them before you come out.
We'll make him a toasted sandwich.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's always lit up. Look at him.
30 minutes there he's giving us.
We'll feed you, Aaron, don't worry.
All right, Nikki, that was deadly. Thank you. And it wasn't
for
as
being on the
much history
podcast.
as you were worried about, was it?
No,
It was
no,
all right.
no.
Good one, Margaret.
Thanks very much,
Nikki,
guys.
thanks.
Thank you.
Very good.